Hello everyone, welcome to yet another day in this The Clown Decade, the decade where things are only going to get worse before they get better. And while things are looking very much up over in America, congratulations on the election, Mr. Donald Trump, over in Britain we have quite a few problems that I think we are going to have to deal with for a few more years, unfortunately. So a few days ago, on the 1st of November, Britain First threw out a video where they went to the affluent market town of Altrincham in South Manchester, as they had had a tip-off that the fancy Crester Court Hotel was closed down to house migrants, and this is the video they threw out.
Hello, gentlemen. Hello. What country are you from?
Ethiopia.
Libya?
Ethiopia.
Oh, Ethiopia. Eritrea? You're from Eritrea? Oh, okay. What about you, sir? What country are you from? Eritrea, okay.
Yep, this is absolutely fine journalism as far as I'm concerned, just going around asking these people who are quite hard of at least speaking English, just asking them a very basic question of where are you from? And most of these people apparently come from East Africa. They don't come from France, because presumably all these people have come over on dinghies. No, they have made quite the journey from East Africa all the way through Europe to France to then get on a boat and come over to Britain and manage to get put up in one of the fanciest hotels in South Manchester. This was the type of hotel where you'd regularly see wedding receptions. It's the type of hotel that would typically be first choice for quite a lot of people visiting South Manchester, at least if they couldn't get to the Marriott nearer the airport. But anyway, this man doing quite basic journalism quickly ends up at the wrong end of the stick with security.
Alright.
Excuse me, can you please stop the camera?
Pardon?
Can you please
Don't touch me, sir, please. Please don't, please. Okay.
stop the camera?
I mean, as a British citizen, I'm allowed to film in public.
Which is quite right too, and so this particular person, I'm sorry I don't know his name, from Britain First, stands his ground, says no, I will keep recording this, you've got a camera on you, therefore I should be able to have a camera on you too. And security, either knowing that they can't do anything or just giving up very easily, decides that the best thing to do is to get all of these people back into the hotel. I'm not even joking, security apparently have been told if anyone comes over and starts asking these people questions, apparently the best thing to do, just get the people inside. There's a whole air of secrecy around this, and it is, by the way, not the first time this has happened, and secondly, it seems that this is something that Labour really want brushed under the carpet. And you might be asking, well, what do I mean by that? Well, here is a video from Councillor Nathan Evans, who is a Conservative councillor in Altrincham, and from people I know in Altrincham and the surrounding areas, he tends to be one of their favourite councillors, because given that it's not the first time this has happened, he is very much on the side of we should not, obviously, have any illegal migrants who are, as far as we care, complete strangers, staying in our hotels, especially when there's hundreds of them. So here's an update from Nathan Evans back on Halloween on the 31st of October.
The situation is being properly managed. Despite hundreds of residents signing up within minutes to our secure ticketed event, the council refused to attend. The MP refused to attend. The police and the business community were happy to meet with residents, along with all 8 Conservative councillors.
So just for extra context, here is the tweet that was attached to this. Latest update on our community meeting about the 296 or 300 male asylum seekers that are being placed at Crester Court Hotel. We have been cancelled. We'll be looking for a new venue. We will not give up on you. It appears that as cringe as CCHQ is, and the Tory MPs are, Tory councillors typically are actually quite right-wing, and they seem to actually want the best for the people that they are supposed to be representing. And I think Nathan demonstrates that very well, but yes, as he is saying, Labour are very much trying to manage this problem by effectively sticking their heads in the sand. Labour councillors didn't turn up, the new Labour MP of Altrincham and Sale West didn't turn up. The police were more than happy to turn up and talk to the Tory councillors, but yes, as I also heard from locals, they were having big trouble actually getting a meeting together, effectively because the people that they were going to, or the organisations, the meeting rooms they wanted to book, effectively said, we think it'll be a security risk. They are literally being cancelled because they are worried about the reaction that would happen, whether that's from migrants or whether that's from special interest groups like Stand Up to Racism. I don't entirely know, but I do know their number one concern was we don't think we can keep security tight enough for this, which I think speaks volumes.
It appears our council is running away when it comes to listening to your concerns about the situation, and our MP is simply missing in action. We are hearing warm words about providing for the asylum seekers, but nothing when it comes to the genuine concerns of our residents around the proximity of the Cresta Court to many schools, the transport interchange, and of course our town centre.
That's not even a joke, by the way. As you can see on the map here, there is the Cresta Court Hotel just at the north of the map, and due south, barely even 500 feet, you're pretty much already at the town centre. Whereas I say it's a market town, it's a big commercial district. They are right next to the train station, which also has a tram stop, which leads straight to central Manchester. As you can see from the map as well, there's a few schools around in this area too. A few of them being all-girls schools. There is no wonder that the local community is very, very much worried about this new influx of complete strangers that they don't know. And as Nathan is saying, all Labour seem to be doing is sticking their head in the sand. I cannot tell you how humiliating that is.
It is unfair of the council to say they had no control of this. We have a Labour council, a Labour MP, a Labour government and a Labour mayor. They hold all the levers of power, locally, regionally and nationally. When this happened last year in Hale, our then MP, Graham Brady, intervened and the housing of single males was blocked and replaced by legitimately vulnerable families.
I was going to bring this up later, but since it's mentioned now, I may as well go through this. Yeah, as I said, this was not the first time this has happened. Under the Tories, a load of asylum seekers were also pushed in Hale, which is a neighbouring town to Altrincham. It's still under the Altrincham town name in the address, by the way. That's kind of how close it is. They're effectively the same area. And this is a town that has been in the Real Housewives of Cheshire quite regularly. It's a very affluent town. And therefore it's actually quite easy, especially for Graham Brady, who was chair of the 1922 committee, to influence power to kind of minimise the issues with this. So just for a little bit of detail, Leader Slam's terrible idea after asylum seekers move into Britannia Hotel in Greater Manchester. And in a town meeting that was just supposed to be for local business leaders, but ended up being leaked, and basically too many local people ended up turning up to actually fit in to the hall that they hired. Graham Brady drove himself hundreds of miles from London to get to this meeting to effectively say that the plan to put 100 asylum seekers in the hotel has been described by him as the most inappropriate location. As previously reported, Sir Graham has said accommodating a group of young men who would not be allowed to work could cause issues in the village. And so he pointed out that Hale, south of Altrincham, has a population of just over 15,000, and he said it called for a meeting with the Home Secretary to discuss the plans, and that the proposal had caused disquiet among many of his constituents, and he said that the hotel in question was obviously the most inappropriate location you could imagine. And so, to minimise the effect of this, he managed to strong-arm the Home Office into only sending families, women and children to this hotel rather than a load of single young men. From what I know of locals in the area, that was kind of good enough. Obviously, the best option would be send them to Rwanda, but that wasn't happening. So this was the best of a bad situation. But obviously this time round, we don't have a Sir Graham Brady to actually fix the issue for the people of Hale, Altrincham and other villages in the area. Instead, as Councillor Nathan Evans is going into, you have a bunch of Labour people who are sticking their heads in the sand and saying, I'm all right, Jack, I don't even live there.
It's also clear that certain social media forums are intent on sifting all discussion and deleting comments as residents raise genuine concerns.
Well, as it turns out, that's all backfired because this has made national news. And not only that, it seems to have been a subject every day since it became national news on GB News. So, yeah, Labour can stick their head in the sand all they want, but all this seems to do is cause a Streisand effect, and now everyone knows.
The events we had planned were ticketed to limited numbers. The police were going to be present along with our 8 councillors. If you know of a venue that is happy to host our public meeting, please drop me a line. When the migrants are processed, they will have 7 days to leave the hotel, and it will fall to our council to provide homes and support, i.e. you, the Trafford ratepayer.
It all just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? You go into more details of this, you find out that they're going in this hotel, they're probably going to be rubber stamped with a little green tick to say, yes, you can stay here. And now it's up to the people of Trafford Council and the Trafford taxpayer to house them, make sure they don't get in any trouble, police them, possibly even support them with, I mean, if things are going like they are in Scotland, give them free transport, give them weekly dole payments. It just, nobody wants this. Obviously nobody wants this. But when you say you don't want it, your events to say you don't want it apparently get cancelled. At least then. And the Trafford Council already have plans to actually put specific migrant accommodation at the taxpayers' expense into action. Trafford Council want to convert part of Altrincham Retail Centre it acquired for 11 million in 2018 into emergency accommodation for people fleeing Ukraine and Afghanistan. Well, at least it's for some Ukrainians, I suppose. The local authorities' planning committee is set to approve the proposals when it meets next Thursday. Designed by View Associates, the scheme will see disused retail space within the 80,000 square feet Grafton Centre converted into 9 homes to accommodate up to 51 people. Again, all at the expense of the taxpayer, who they're probably okay with the Ukrainians. From the locals I talked to, I think they'll probably mostly be okay with Afghanistani families. Possibly, but this is the problem. You just know that that's not what it's going to be used for. Because they were promised for ages, oh, you're not, you know all these girls' schools about, and the fact it's right next to the town centre? Yeah, don't worry, we're not going to send male single migrants there. And then they do. So they know this is a lie. But it's quite obvious to see where this pipeline's going. There is no appetite from Labour to actually deal with this problem. They are just going to take your money, spend it on these people, and then stick their head in the sands. That's apparently what's happening here. Not that I'm complaining about it, because if I complained about it, I'd go to jail.
We are working hard to find an alternate venue, and I cannot stress enough how disappointed I, along with my whole team, are finding ourselves unable to answer your questions. We will attempt by email. I fear that if we don't stand up to this, our remaining hotels may fall to the same fate. Our councillor team and myself remain at your service, and please feel free to email your concerns.
I have absolutely nothing wrong with anything this Tory councillor said. This would be the type of person I'd say Reform should try and target. You got a big problem though in that Altrincham and Hale and a lot of the surrounding towns were quite pro-Remain, and so getting them over to Nigel Farage's party is probably going to be a bit difficult. However, Reform did come third in that constituency, so it's not necessarily the most impossible thing in the world, but either way, very impressed with the work that Councillor Nathan Evans has done there, and luckily, as it turned out, there was an event eventually where people could voice their concerns, and it made national news.
300 guys from a country which we know did not value women.
We don't know anything about them. We have no idea what they are capable of doing.
Yeah, this is pretty much everything I hear from people who voice concerns about this. We don't know who they are, they're effectively strangers. The culture's generally incompatible. You're putting them next to girls' schools, for God's sake. Overall, I already feel more unsafe, and it is not your job to make me feel unsafe.
So they've called a meeting in a nearby church with the local community police officer.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but that's the hard... No, I'm sorry. Is there going to be a curfew? Or are they just at 7 o'clock at night, just going to be able to wander around? Is my daughter going to be safe when she goes into Altrincham and has a few drinks? No, is the answer.
Yeah, Altrincham and Hale are definitely known for their bars. It's a place I've been to with my friends before as well. It is a nice area, and I'm not going to lie, if I'd heard that 300 foreign migrants had just moved into the hotel right next to Altrincham, I'd think twice about going. Hell, I've already seen Facebook posts of people saying that they don't particularly want to go to Altrincham again after all this news came out. Well done, Labour.
We can't lock people up who haven't committed any crimes. We cannot impose on them and restrict their movement if they haven't committed any crimes.
They crossed the channel illegally. This is the thing that is absolutely blowing the kind of non-woke normies' minds. They have committed a crime. What are you talking about? They literally crossed the channel illegally, but obviously with all the human rights lawyers and technicalities in the Human Rights Act, they haven't committed a crime until they have been processed and told, no, you do not have a valid asylum claim, which is completely backwards to how it should be.
I just find it frankly unbelievable. There's a lollipop man on the doorstep because that's how close the primary is. There are 2 all-girls schools within 10-minute walk. They have to go past an at-risk area.
I can assure you we've had asylum seekers in Trafford for several years, and there has been no spike in crime.
Yes, but as mentioned before, that was under the Tories, and these areas, as I said, had better MPs who were making sure that those of a demographic that are less likely to be in the, I guess we'll call them danger demographic, were being put in these areas. And I'm not going to lie, I've just had a search for crime rates in Trafford, and it is very hard to find anything after 2017, which is before generally you had all the issues we have with channel migrants. So yeah, I can't really confirm or deny that, unfortunately. Anyway, the rest of the boomers in this meeting obviously were bringing up similar issues, along with the, public services aren't going to be great with all these people, are they? Which is all, in my mind, fair concerns.
But refugees are welcome in Altrincham, according to banners outside the church.
When you're saying that refugee and asylum-seeking men should be vetted to make sure that they're not paedophiles, I think that's racist.
Yeah, like most places, you definitely get people like that. But it is a very basic ask. We don't know who these people are. They've come over illegally. We know nothing about them. Can you at the very least give us peace of mind and let us know, if you actually know or not, whether they are paedophiles? It's quite a basic ask, really.
Gláeddyv and Roger Roper had a Ukrainian family in their home for 14 months and say they welcome documented asylum seekers.
I would be really cross if somebody was thinking that I was racist because I'm sat in a meeting wanting questions on something that has been totally blacked out from us.
Yeah, and as mentioned before, Labour just keep sticking their head in the sand and just don't want to give them any information, probably because they knew that this backlash was inevitable. There's still a fair few Tory councillors in Trafford, and as we can see, they are very much working very hard to make sure that exactly what Labour are doing, and to an extent what the Tory ministers were doing, doesn't happen again.
Unaware of any local uproar, the men at the hotel spoke of treacherous journeys to reach the UK. Some saw people drown in the channel, and this Kurdish man said traffickers beat him, forcing him onto a boat at gunpoint.
Yeah, are they lying? Are they not? Are you going to question any of that? I didn't think so.
But said the people of Altrincham had been welcoming and respectful. Then, in contradiction, get back on the boats, someone shouts from a passing car.
Yeah, you absolutely love to see it. In reality, as we saw, the only person they probably will have seen from Altrincham was probably the hotel manager and the hotel staff. The security they had to get in, clearly they were not local people. And they probably don't know about a local uproar because they probably stay at the hotel most of the time. And most people are probably avoiding that area of Altrincham now. Probably staying more at the south side of it. Because these migrants, they've been there a few days, they're probably not interacting with the locals too much, if at all. They're just staying in the hotel, getting their money, having their free coffee, and dossing around just waiting for their asylum claim to be processed, which, as I say, will probably end up with a green rubber stamp.
Labour said it would end the use of hotels for migrants, but blames this move on a backlog from the Rwanda policy, which halted many asylum claims.
Yep, Labour's plan to smash the gang going well. Oh yeah, it's totally just a backlog. People are still coming over. It's just nonsense. I can tell you now, there is nobody I know that actually trusts that Labour is going to sort this problem whatsoever. Even the people that understand it's an issue and still voted Labour. They don't think they're going to solve it at all.
The thousands crossing the channel on small boats has caused heated national debate, but that sharpens when it becomes a local issue.
Oh yeah, and the local issue gets worse, by the way. Once again, we're going back to Councillor Nathan Evans, who claimed on Twitter that after that town meeting, he was actually asked to leave the town meeting.
Good evening, Nathan Evans, come back from the drop-in centre with the MP and the council. Great to see so many residents, great to engage and receive some of their questions. But I went there to find out and speak to the Home Office and or Cero, and neither had appeared.
It's just absolutely crazy, isn't it? An entire town meeting about why they don't want this, and the people in charge who made this decision are running away from any and all type of pressure about how bad their decision was. I mean, I suppose I could kind of understand it, but my God, it does just show a complete lack of spine.
So didn't really get any answers to the questions that I went with, so we're going to have to write to the Home Office and write to Cero, which is about the background checks. So we'll be digging a little deeper into that, but mainly great to see so many residents, and we'll carry on.
Good stuff from Nathan there. Now, obviously, he didn't mention that he was asked to leave, but someone asked him on Twitter who you asked to leave by, to which Nathan claims it was the Labour organisers. And given how much trouble he had actually trying to get a meeting organised in the first place before this blew up nationally, I can believe he was asked to leave, because he is making a bit of noise about this, which is very good to see, as I say. Now, I suppose it wouldn't be fair of me to say that there has been absolutely no response from Labour on this issue, but when there has been a response, it has been, once again, one of the worst cascade of platitudes I've ever seen. So this is a statement from the Labour leader of Trafford, Tom Ross, saying the situation was temporary and the decision was taken by the Home Office, not the council. Okay, but as we've seen, the council can do things to actually make sure that this is not the worst decision in the world. Trafford, he added, was a borough that stands by its value of compassion and inclusivity. He said in a statement tonight, I understand the concerns raised by residents about the temporary use of Crest Court Hotel in Altrincham for accommodating asylum seekers, which was a decision made by the Home Office and not the council. Government has also recognised that using hotels long-term is not the answer, as I have previously said, but it has inherited an asylum system that is broken, and there is no quick fix to deal with the massive backlog the country is facing. And from what I have seen the Labour government say, effectively their way of fixing it is by pretending it doesn't exist, and as I say, rubber stamping a lot of asylum claims with a green stamp. Trafford has a proud history of being diverse, tolerant and welcoming borough, and we are dedicated to maintaining these values while addressing practical concerns including healthcare and safeguarding. We are working closely with the Home Office, Cero, local health services, the police and our community organisers to support our residents and the individuals seeking refuge here. And that is enough of that. As you can see, total head in the sand stuff. Oh, we hear you, trust us, this is temporary. Oh, but you love diversity, don't you? Don't you, local residents? You clearly love diversity. While they're at a town hall saying, oh my God, I am really worried about my daughter's safety. And the thing you've got to bear in mind is that the reason that this has made national news is because this is a leafy suburb just outside of Cheshire. It actually used to be in Cheshire, but then boundaries changed. This is a story that will be common throughout the United Kingdom. It will probably be everywhere. But it is in Altrincham, where obviously people are slightly more affluent. They have a bit more of a voice, can make a bit more noise, to the point where it makes it to national news. As I say, Crest Court, a Best Western hotel, it's quite fancy, and it has effectively been commandeered with wedding venues cancelled. There will have been plenty of business trips and meetings that will have had to have taken place in there, all cancelled because we need to put a bunch of migrants in there. Why, if there is no problem here, could you not have people staying in the hotel and at the same time have these wedding receptions? Why couldn't you have migrants there with these wedding receptions going on at the same time? You know, it's this revealed preference type thing. It's almost like Labour and the hotel managers know those two things don't particularly mix. And yet at the same time they are trying to say, oh, they won't be a problem whatsoever. Yet you've had to cancel business meetings and wedding receptions because of this decision. If they're not going to be a problem, why can't we keep having these wedding receptions instead of having to cancel them? But again, this is something that Labour are just going to stick their head in the sand and say, diversity, to try and, you know, poo-poo away any sort of criticism. But as I say, this was not the first time that Altrincham, Hale, Trafford has had this issue. It definitely will not be the last. And as I say, group chats of people that I am in, with people in this area. None of them are happy about this. Do Labour care? No. They're just going to force it on them. And that is pretty much how the rest of the country is going to have to live for another, hopefully 3 years, but more than likely 5. So let's have fun with that while we can. Anyway, that is everything I had for you for today, so chill time. Tomorrow it's the Antiquity stream, so we are going to be going through yet more of the Peloponnesian War, with Jack lecturing, obviously. Tuesday it's a Tosh Talks. It looks like we are going to be going through footage of English towns and cities from the early 20th century, because we want to remind ourselves of a time that we will probably never experience. And then Wednesday I'm finishing off Dustborn, and then videos will be out as and when they are ready. So with that, do subscribe, become a channel member, give super thanks and super chat. All that good stuff really helps the channel out. And with that, that is everything I had for you for today. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.